Welcome to Chicago. The year is 1920. The sale of alcohol has been forbidden in the whole country, and the Windy City has become a battlefield for criminal gangs. All gangs share the same goal: to have the most prosperous business at any price. In Scarface 1920, things are not much different. In fact, the game is completely based on true events. The outfits, the weapons, the vehicles, many of the characters, and even the map. Before we start to explain the game, let's be clear. This is a competitive, super immersive and cinematic game which combines three mechanics: deck building, worker placement and area control. Come on, let's get down to business. The game begins with this card: the news that the sale of alcohol is banned in the country, and it ends likewise with the news of the end of the Prohibition in 1933. Everything that happens between those two moments is the crime story that each player creates. Chicago is ruled by criminal gangs that want to make their own business without anyone disturbing them, and they are prepared to end with the enemies. You are the boss of one of these four gangs: Arnold Rothstein, Dino Bannion, Stephanie St. Clair, or Al Capone. Which is the win condition? Be the wealthiest gang in Chicago when Prohibition ends. The map of Chicago is divided into 7 districts. Those districts have neighborhoods, and in turn neighborhoods have businesses. There are 4 types of businesses: speakeasies, casinos, brothels, and nightclubs. The latter can only be obtained when the gang consolidates its power in the neighborhood and it becomes an upscale neighborhood, which implies a significant improvement in terms of making money and defending the territory. At the bottom of the board, you have the associates market. Here you can find criminal associates that you can hire for your gang. The level of the associates is represented by a number of stars in the card, from 1 to 5 indicating how powerful the associate is and how much it costs to hire them. The icon at the top right of the card indicates the crime type in which they are specialized: bootlegging, corruption, gambling, violence, theft, and vice. Choose wisely because it will be a key element in planning your strategy, organizing your turn, and combining them to get the most out of your crime knowledge. Around the board, you can see 3 spaces, which are the worker placements areas. The underworld is the place where you will send your thugs to do some dirty business. The authorities is the place where you will go to ask some favors from the powerful people: judges, politicians, favors which are not as legal as they should be. The prison is obviously a place that you don't want to visit. You can't send your thugs there, but they may end up behind bars if arrested. Right next to the prison is the crime track, which indicates the crime rate you have at any given moment. The more criminal actions you undertake, the more pressure and punishment you will face from the feds. When you perform certain actions in the game, you will move up in the crime track, as these actions will draw the attention of the feds, and eventually enter a different color label that may bring about a harsher retribution by them, led by Elliot Ness. Later, we will see at which point a raid is initiated by the Federals. When that happens, we take the top card of the Federals deck and see the effect it has. Each Federals card has an overall effect on every player and a particular effect depending on the color of your gang in the crime track. Players who are higher on this track will receive a harder punishment from Ness and his Untouchables. Each player has a set of important elements to control their gang: the deck, the thugs and vehicles, the dealers, the jobs, the control markers, and above all, their gang board. At the beginning, your deck is made up by the initial gang members and the boss, but you can expand by hiring associates in the market or by unlocking new right hands through the gang board. Each player has their own gang board. The boss miniature is placed on it and has a track along which your boss can advance and become progressively more powerful. How? The more you improve your gang, the bigger your boss's power will be. On the right side of the player board, you have the gang upgrades, which let you increase the size of your hand, the number of vehicles you can have in the districts, or the number of nightclubs you can have in your neighborhoods. Every time you upgrade your gang, you mark it with one of these cubes, thus leaving a free space for your boss to advance and increase his power. Thugs will get their hands dirty for you, and you will need them to perform most actions. To get them to the streets of Chicago, your thugs must move on from the recruits area to the safe houses, and from there to the headquarters, where they will be waiting for your orders. There are two types of resources to get money from: alcohol, represented by barrels, and guns, represented by pistols. These are the elements that will let you do some business in the neighborhoods. You can get them from your dealers and store them there. Dealers are these square cars, which, by using your influence or muscle, we'll talk about this later, will let you get the alcohol and guns that you need. On the top right, they have a number indicating the amount of resources that can be stored on it. If you don't have enough space, you can store alcohol and guns in your neighborhood, but of course, it's less safe if a rival decides to seize that neighborhood. All gangs begin with 2 starting dealers, but you can get better ones by going to the underworld. Selling alcohol and guns will let you gain dollars, which will be crucial for doing business and determine the winner once the game is over. Finally, you will begin with 3 starting jobs, but you will be able to get some more. Jobs are actions or missions that you can perform to give your gang an ongoing benefit throughout the game, permanent jobs, or a one-time bonus, instant jobs. In order to activate your available jobs, you must meet the requirements indicated in the card. We are almost there. The starting player will be the player who has most recently seen a gangster movie. Going counterclockwise, each player will choose a neighborhood with no police presence on that district, place one of their control markers, a building, and one of their vehicles. And this is how your criminal empire begins. You will also have to store 2 goods in your starting deals and draw 3 gang member cards from your deck. Next, it's time to lay out your plan. Now that you know all the elements on the board and in your gang, let's see what you can do in each of your turns. During your turn, you will have to lay out the plan with the cards you have in your hand. This will provide you with influence and muscle points. These points are shown at the top left of the gang members and associate cards. The higher the level of the associate, the more influence and/or muscle they will contribute to your gang. It varies depending on the associate. After the plan layout, you will have to carry out one of the 8 available actions. You can send one thug to one deal in order to get resources, which you will have to store. You can also send one thug to the underworld to do some dirty business. Here you can see the 5 types of actions you can carry out in the underworld according to the influence in your plan. Recruiting. Advance as many positions on the thug's board as the number of influence you have laid out. You can move from recruit to safe houses or from safe houses to headquarters. Choose one job from the deck. You can draw 1 card from the jobs deck for each influence point you have laid out. However, you only get to keep 1 card, preferably the one you like the most. Choose one deal. Likewise, when you go to the underworld, you can choose a new deal for your gang that eventually will supply you with more goods. Hire one associate. You can choose among the 6 associates that are in the market, as long as you have as much influence points in your plan as the level of the card. So for a level 5 associate, you should have at least 5 influence points in your plan. Finally, you can make some sales. For each influence point in your plan, you can make a sale in one of your neighborhoods and turn your goods into dollars. But there are even more actions you can perform in your turn. The next thing you can do is send a thug to the authorities. There you can make an arrangement with some influential people, which can be very useful. With 5 influence points, you can remove a control marker from a rival neighborhood. Decrease your crime rate on the crime track by moving back your marker 1 space for each influence point you have. Add a new business to one of your neighborhoods. For example, a speakeasy, a casino, or a brothel. Recover your thugs from prisons so that you have them available again in your headquarters. Sell alcohol and guns for $6 each. The authorities often pay no heed to prohibition. You can also send your thugs to one district. To perform this action, you will need 1 muscle point for each figure you want to send to any district in which you already have presence. You can move your thugs or vehicles from one district to another by paying 1 muscle point per figure. This includes cards, which allow thugs to move to any district in the city. When on foot, thugs can only move to adjacent districts. Seize one neighborhood. With this action, you may take control of a neighborhood. To do this, you total the muscle points in your plan and add 1 muscle point for each thug and car you have in that district. If your total is equal or higher than the defense of the neighborhood, you will take control of it. You should know that enemy thugs and cars, and even the control marker itself, add to its defense, and may force you to arrange some real turf wars before you can make your way through. After all, there is not enough pie in Chicago for all of you, so often the best defense is a good offense. Upgrade your gang. Move your boss one space and put that cube on the feature you wish to upgrade. This will let you, for instance, create a nightclub in one of your neighborhoods, turning it into an upscale neighborhood. Only if you can do anything else, you have to remove some of your thugs, but this should always be the last resort for an unsuccessful boss who has lost control of his gang. It is well known that whenever bosses are forced to take this option, they will gather their gang and tell them, "We have a lack of good ideas in this gang, but a surplus of morons." Soon after, a lamp is thrown into Lake Michigan. In addition to the mandatory action, in your turn you will have the possibility of using the skills of the characters in your plan, in any order you wish, and before or after your main actions. Gang members have standard skills that can support your plan. In addition to their standard skill, associates have matching skills that they can use if they are in the right company, making them more brutal. This is where an associate crime type comes into play. If, for example, we play this bootlegging car along with this one, his matching skill can be activated. But what about the boss? The skills of each of the 4 bosses are completely different and asymmetrical. These are shown at the bottom of your gang board. When you play your boss card, you can use 3 skills out of the available 4, even repeating the same one several times. Once your turn is over, the gang members and associates you laid out are sent to your discard pile, and finally you refill your hand. Every time you run out of cards in your deck and hand, you must reorganize. Doing so, you make a sale in one of your neighborhoods, get $2 for each business you control, get your thugs back, make a recruitment, reshuffle your deck, and the time marker is advanced 1 square. Each time a player reorganizes, the time marker will advance until it eventually reaches the extra space. When this happens, a federal raid will take place, a new newspaper card will be revealed, bringing some changes to the game, and the time marker will be placed back to its starting square. This will be done for 4 rounds until the prohibition ends, signaling the conclusion of the game. Now that you've seen all the elements of the game, why don't we get started? Do you have what it takes to be the king or queen of Chicago?